to Empower Podcast. And today we're going to talk about how you can improve our communication skills. Do you need some more communication in your life?
That's right.
Yeah.
This is a good topic.
Everybody talks about communication. You go on your resume, like communication skills,
Yeah.
dating app, communication, like everybody's talking about communication.
Well, and the reason for that is, remember this, and I use this motto in my business: people buy people. They more so than they buy our services. So people buy people.
Yeah.
Improving communication skills, and what are the two key, like excellent parts of excellent communication? Do you know?
Well,
I don't want to put you on the spot like that.
Well, you have your thing, I have mine.
Yeah. So basically,
what is it for you?
So the two key parts, well, is knowing who your audience is, right? Who you're tailoring the way that you communicate. And the second part of this, what separates you from other communicators, is knowing how to listen.
Oh, yes. That's what I was going to
say. Did I hit a home run?
Yes.
Okay.
Communication happens in the listening.
Yeah. And improving our communication skills is something like we never stop improving.
No.
Like it's something and the reason why is because our audience is constantly changing, right?
Yeah.
We have to tailor.
Well, bringing awareness, how we listen as well.
Yeah.
Have you heard about filter? Have you noticed that we have filters we listen from filters?
Are we going back into our episode on filters?
Well,
that's a different type of filter.
But you know what? It's all related. Like, think about it.
Yeah, of course we have to filter our thoughts.
Yeah, but like think about it. Like if you perceive someone kind, you will talk in a certain way. If you perceive someone a bitch,
I don't know if you have to filter that. I hope our producer knows if you have to filter that.
But like how you interact to people really already present. Is that how I say? Like gives you how you're going to talk, because you already in your listening, you already know how that person is.
I'm lost. Are you guys I don't know what
you don't know what I'm talking about.
I don't
So think about it. You have
rephrase that.
Okay, so we're saying that communication happens in the listening and in the audience. So you're speaking to an audience, right?
Yeah.
So but consider that when you're talking to an audience, you already have a filter about that audience.
Why?
It's just what we do. Think about it.
I don't know sometimes who my audience is, especially when I have new patients coming in. I don't know.
But however they do, they trigger something you already know about them.
Well,
we have personality test. This person is already this way. Don't you like read people?
Well, I do read people, but I also...
Based on what?
Well, in the okay, so these questions, we'll have to detail these questions if we're talking about business relationships.
No, let's pick up to communication.
Yeah, but let's go in first of all what we want to cover in this episode.
Okay.
And then I'm gonna answer that question because it's important for me to answer that
curious.
Question. So we already know that improving our communication skill is something that never
everybody
stops.
wants
We always have to look of ways of improving it. And even when we're a great communicator, there will be situations in our life where we just like everything that we know, we just toss it to the side because we're responding emotionally, or we're conveying it in a way that we know we shouldn't, but we're just something's ignited us. Okay. And it's crucial for personal and professional success. So communication isn't something just to help you in your personal life. It is something, it can make the difference of you getting hired over another candidate. You were talking earlier about resumes, always like communication skills, like they're always wanting to, in fact, they'll present tests to test your communication skills, how you respond to customers, etc. And also the ability to communicate effectively, and what I can provide, and at the same time educate, so basically I have to say in my business, I believe that I have mastered no, that's the wrong word. Why I'm effective in retention. Client
Mhm.
retention is because of the way I communicate with them.
Mm-hmm.
The way that I have essentially said, listen, I have 30 minutes to 45 minutes to convey my best self, and reading the person and tailoring what I present to them so that I can retain them.
Yeah.
And I think that I hate using the words master or the
Well,
best
that's in
or
your
professional.
expertise.
I know, but I don't like self labels like that. I'm just saying that I got it, you know,
There.
I'm a horrible communicator right now. I can't even communicate what it is I'm trying to say.
Well, acknowledging
I'm
that is the
effective.
first.
I'm effective.
Okay, acknowledge is a really good way to stop and then shift the audience listening,
Yeah.
right?
So, and some of the key points of being an effective communicator is using simple language. How many times have you ever like listened to somebody and they use every? I know somebody. They use every like what was she studied the dictionary, before she came to have a conversation with me, and she's impressing me with all these huge words that are really not even relevant to the subject matter, but it's just so simplified terminology,
Yeah.
right?
And language, you're making a point about simple language, but I'm gonna make a point about how language is important,
Mm-hmm.
how you use language.
Mm-hmm.
It's I believe
Sorry.
I have heard people Christians say that like even in the Bible say like and then it was the word like I am was created in language, something like that, but I don't want to get into that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, because the next point is get to the point quickly and avoid rambling.
Yeah, oh God, I'm so terrible because my mind. Look, this is the hardest thing about me communicating when I have like so many things, and then sometimes I speak in English and I'm thinking in English, and then I don't know what I need to say. Then I go to Portuguese, and then I also don't remember.
Yeah, I can
My
understand.
brain
It's
is
an
like
obstacle.
my brain. So and I like when you're really good about like grounded yourself.
Yeah.
And people have been saying to me that I probably have ADHD. I probably do.
No, I think it's more what
No, you think you do. I do.
No, I think it's more about what you just said, because you're translating in your own language, your first language, right? English is your second language.
English is my second language.
Yeah, so there's a lot you have to decipher. We have to
extend. No, I can't. No, I would say it's not that, because I even dream in English now. So I think in English most of the time. When I don't know something, then I go to Portuguese, and then when I'm talking.
You mean the words?
Like I go back and forth when there's lack of knowledge, but I can't use that as an excuse. Yeah. Because the point is to be effective communicator.
Right. So here's another tip for you to implement. Organize your thoughts before speaking or writing. So if there's a point that you want to express, then take a moment to organize them in your head. And maybe you do that. But there's a lot of people who don't. That's why I always say people filter your thoughts before you let those words leave your lips.
Yeah.
And then you'll be responding with intelligence rather than emotion.
You're creating, that's what I was going to say, like you create with your words, right? So when you don't have filter, or like what do I have to say really is going to make a difference, is going to be an impact there? Mm-hmm. Or am I going to say something empty, like makes no difference?
Yeah. Right.
Being responsible for the listener, right?
Yeah, and that's so important with effective communication. Because you can just put a whole bunch of words out there, but if your message gets lost, then
Yeah. One thing there's this research that I recently, someone was talking about, one of the leaders I was being trained. There was this research about a penguin. Okay, I don't know exactly the details, but this is what I remember. They interview, let's say, 1,000 people. 82% of the research individuals, they show a picture of a penguin. Only 12%, I'm sorry, 88%. Only 12% agree that was a penguin. A simple picture of a penguin. Now imagine other things that we talk about it and we think about it. If only 12% sees something similar to us and we are trying to communicate,
Yeah. Okay.
everyone having a different view, a different
Yeah.
perspective
Yeah.
of a simple picture of a penguin. Now you talk about relationships, you talk about tasks at work, and you talk about, you know, politics, and you talk about anything, and you only have 12% chance that the person, when you communicate, is listening the same as you're speaking.
Or is going to comprehend that information the
Yes.
way that you hope, right?
Yes.
And that's also why it's important to know your audience and do your homework. And I'm not talking about getting up and speaking in front of a large crowd. I'm even just talking about having a communication with a coworker, for instance.
Oh, me and my employees. Thank God for my girls.
Yeah.
Like,
and knowing each individual, because it's not your employees are all unique individuals. So the way that you present a dilemma that you have at work with one employee might have to be tailored
totally different
to a
than the
different,
other. Yeah.
because you took the time to know that individual and how you will achieve your goal, and that's
what works, what doesn't work,
and communicate to where you have and always know what you're looking for, what the end result is. Another thing is
I want to add one thing before you move on that is very important too when you're communicating something. I don't do that all the time. It's just a practice I'm adding on, and I try to do as much as I can, catching myself, but I keep asking, okay, what did you understand about what I said? I ask you to do certain things. Give me back what I just said.
That's condescending.
Why?
I find that condescending.
Well, let's do it because I want to clarify.
Right. So
why is condescending for you?
So it would be for me to say, okay, let me repeat this back to you, because I want to hear, I want to make sure I understand. So that would be an objective on the listener's part. But if I was in a conversation, let's just say with my significant other, and he's explaining to me, he's going into depth about something that he needs to convey to me, and then he says to me, "Now repeat back to me what I said to you." To me, it's a kind of an authority.
I get it. Yeah,
and it's a little condescending, or even in the boss employee position, I still think like, "Now repeat back what I just said to you." That would be like, so do you?
But okay, I get that. And did you notice that how you adding the emotional about it, like repeat back to me? From my perspective, and look, I'm gonna look into this with them, okay? Because in my perspective, is like, we come across so many problems because I'm having a meeting, like we usually have monthly, weekly meetings. And then I said, okay, I need you to do this, I need you to do that, because of this, because of that. And then I said, okay, then I move on, right? And then they don't do it. And then they come back to me like, but you said this, you didn't say that. And I'm thinking, I didn't say that. I said something else. Like in my mind, I said something else, but they didn't heard the way I was meant to say it. So
It could be the way that you communicated, though. It could maybe you meant to communicate that, but
how do I know? So okay, well, I'm gonna work on this, okay? Because my intention is I want to make sure that when we are talking in here and I'm speaking, it's very clear that when you say okay, I am clear. You got my communication, my request, and when you say yes, you're gonna complete the task I asked you to complete. And what has been happening is that they come back later and say, you didn't say that. Yeah. I didn't hear that. And I was like, and then I get frustrated because my communication didn't get gotten.
Yeah.
So how would I checking in, make sure that they hear what I meant to say?
Well, so communication, improving one's communication skills is also in written form too. So I would present that like you probably did at a meeting of some sort, but I would say, and to follow up with this, I put these same guidelines or, daily tasks, whatever you want to refer to them as, in the workroom or in the lunch space for you guys to make sure that you glance over those at the end of each at the beginning and end of
I'm
each
sorry, I'm
working day.
already going in my head like I don't have time for this, Christina. Come on, like I just asked them and they just tell me back.
Well, but clearly it's been a problem.
The problem has been the lack of agreement to what I need, and they
Did you know your
receive.
employees are going to be watching this podcast?
Oh, well, I really like I have like the girls. We're in the process of hiring another two other front desk, but the two that has been there with me for a while, we have like really have learned the communication, and there's a lot of times that we still get upset, but we have such a great drama-free environment now because of that. Because sometimes they even say like, I know you didn't mean, but let's talk about this.
That's great.
We're really good. Like,
so mature individuals that aren't afraid to communicate and ask the questions. And
you better listen and subscribe if you're my employee.
Yeah, and get clarity. Get clarity. So again, the next one, paraphrasing what you heard to ensure understanding. That would be more of, what am I hearing? That was like, oh, the ice maker. Paraphrasing, that would be the responsibility of the listener. And that is, again, listening is an important attribute to great communication skills. So if I'm not sure I understand you, or I might be a little offended by something you might say, it's my responsibility to ask the questions. Like, can you repeat that?
What do you mean by that?
Because I'm not comprehending or understanding that. I don't want to misinterpret what you're saying. And I don't want to leave this conversation with either being hurt, being angry, or any of those emotions. And then being aware of nonverbal clues. So if you're communicating to something and you see their body turn inward, their arms start to cross, or their shoulders shrug, or they're looking off, or they're looking down, it's because something that you said tuned them out, or
triggered them,
or they weren't ready to hear you. Because a lot of times I am guilty of this. I want to have a conversation when I want to have a conversation, or when I feel it's relevant or the time. And perhaps the person I want to have it with is already engaged in something else. And do you think I'm going to have an effective conversation if they're watching a television show, or they're reading a book, or they're doing something, and I just want them to drop everything because I want to have a conversation? No.
They're not present.
Yeah.
Especially men. Men are so single focused that I learned this a long time ago.
Yeah.
Like, you want to say like, I want to have a time with you. I need to speak about something. Prepare them.
Yeah.
And a lot of times in work environment, even us as a woman, we're in the masculine energy.
Yeah.
We need some like time. Okay, like let's create a time for us to talk about something.
Right. Exactly. That's perfect. Let's create a time. I have something I want to talk to you about. Let's agree on a time when it's a good time for you. Let me know.
There's something about. Have you heard about the DISC?
No, I haven't heard about the DISC.
So DISC is a personality test. I have a degree in organizational psychology, and I did a lot of personality stuff. There's a lot of personality tests out there, but the DISC is like the framework, the simplicity of the DISC is really helpful. Of course, you can go in the deep.
When would you administer that test to somebody?
Ask me again.
When would you administer that test? Like, for what reason would you administer this?
It's really like a very powerful tool in communication. A lot of companies use the DISC assessment.
Do you do this for your employees?
I don't. I should.
Maybe
you know what I did?
Yeah.
I actually did the love language for my employees, which that is like also another way of you. What are those tasks or those concepts does? It gives you hints about the traits, the predictability of these people's behavior, right? And so it gives you tools to communicate. So for example, we can talk about the love language is the same thing, the same concept. Maybe we can do both. So the DISC is the DISC. Each one of those stands for a predominant way of the person behave or think or act.
Okay.
So for example, the D is a dominant, and I have my rules.
And this ties into strengthen our communication skills.
Yeah, but here's I'm gonna close the I
See how I asked the questions? That could have been a condescending question. So forgive me if it was taken that way.
No, but okay, here's the part of like really maturity comes in place when people are saying something. I'm listening for what is that you really talking about it instead of putting me down. I don't have it that you condescending because we are talking about a subject that we're both creating.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm listening like you're curious about what I'm saying. There's also a different way that's what I'm talking about the beginning of our conversation about filter.
Mm-hmm.
I have a filter that whatever you're talking to me, you're being curiously engaged, you're clarifying things because if it's not clear for you, our audience also is not clear.
Yeah, I'm always looking out for the audience, making sure that
so
we're like.
it never occurs to me condescendent.
Yeah.
Now, if I have a filter that people disrespect me, do you think I'm going to think I'm condescendent? Maybe I will have a tendency to think more of that.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, let's put that aside. Let's come back to this. So there's like, so the disc is for dominance, the I is for influencing, the C is for cautious, and the S is for stabilizing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so those are the main words for the behavior. Now, we dance on that, so we have like higher and lowers about that, and there's a whole philosophy behind, there's a lot of learning behind, but let me do the main points. Someone is task oriented.
Okay.
So D and C, very task oriented. You usually see someone, for example, so D and C is the task oriented. Let me give you the three main things. The D and the I, they're outgoing, they're a people person. No, I'm sorry, the I and the S. The I and the S is a people person.
Okay.
So D and C is the task oriented. D and C. And then the I and the S is a people oriented. Then the D and I are outgoing. And the C and the S is kind of like reserved. And then the other one, there's one more. Direct communication and more like dancing with it. So the D is like very to the point. You do a meeting with the D, they don't want to talk, like 15 minutes they're done.
Mm-hmm.
You do a meeting with the C, they take forever to make a point. You do sales with a D, the D wants to know, just tell me what is this about it and I will make a decision like right now. You do a business with the C, who needs to think about it, is very cautious, very, what is the word that they have in here? Analytical, detail-oriented. They make very good engineers. They make very good accountants.
Mm-hmm.
The D are like your salesperson, like go after. And then you have the I. I'm a very high I. Is a people person, a leader, usually looking for the good of everyone, is direct, also is assertive in their communication. And then you have the S, who are a people person but is more reserved, so they make very good managers. Anyway, so you get the concept of the disc.
Yeah, so you're categorizing. So how is this relevant to what we're talking about? I would say that it was knowing your audience. If I were to be hiring employees, I would probably give this personality test because then I'll know what kind of person I'm looking at. Their management material or
that's good, and that's why a lot of HRs use those personality tests, and DISC is a good one. The emotional intelligence is also another one that do give you tests about the EQ, not the IQ, the EQ, the emotional intelligence. But anyway, what I want to bring about this is that you don't really need a personality test when you're meeting people. I mean, I don't have time to go every client and like, okay, here, client, sign up here and tell me which personality you are. But if I have someone interacting with me and they are asking the questions to the point, and they're like, don't waste my time, I'm dealing with the D. And if I want to earn their business, I gotta match them. That's the point I'm thinking. If I'm dealing with a C who is cautious, they want to know all the information they need to know, and I gotta bring patience to this person.
But how are you gonna know? How are you gonna categorize them? when you're meeting somebody, when you're having a
Because
conversation.
the way they are interacting back with you.
So you have to know them relatively.
You can pick it up
Or-
like that.
Interesting. So you're spending your first 15 minutes analyzing the personality.
Well, I
And
do
then,
this for
and then
so long.
tailoring
You
the
know,
way you communicate. So who am I? What am I?
you are D and I. You
I'm a
probably
D&I.
no. Actually, you are like you go between. You probably have like the highest D
Mm-hmm.
because you're really direct. You to the point. You're very like you do things fast. You move fast,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Oh no, I'm just hearing you out.
Well, this is. See, I don't go in like, okay, this person is this and that. I just match people and I interact with
So
people.
you match energy. You kind of learn to speak their language.
Yeah, like.
And that's effective in communicating. That is,
Mhm.
and usually people can make an impression on
Uh-huh.
within the first 15 to 20 minutes that
Mhm.
you get to know them. Sometimes it's the very first few words
Mhm.
that come out of somebody's mouth. And
Now, there's another point about this. This too is that you can have certain behaviors in certain situations. Like at family, you are more predominant in a certain way. With business, you can do more predominantly
Yeah.
in another way. More you match both, more at peace you live. Because there's a lot of stress when you're not in your comfort zone
so
of your personality.
right, and so I wanted to kind of summarize what you're
Yeah.
talking about, because I know she brought in personality test or this thing and way of essentially categorizing individuals so that you can basically try and match and communicate in a way that's going to be effective to whatever it is you're trying to accomplish or
Mhm.
achieve. And that is something that you would use, a tool you would use in day-to-day conversation, personal conversations, business conversations, and with friendships.
Mhm.
Another thing is, so again, considering your audience and adjust your approach accordingly. All right, that's basically in a nutshell what she was just talking about.
Mhm.
And then also matching your tone and your facial expressions to your message. Have you ever seen some people where they're just like talking and it's so monotone?
Yeah.
And it's not just like, and it's a really interesting subject, but it's the way they deliver it. It's so monotone, and
Yeah.
you just, the audience just tone.
I have something on my note, which is creating a rapport is very important in communication. I think that's what you're touching when someone is really monotone.
Mhm.
There's no rapport. There's not being over there. It's just like, oh, this is like I'm talking to a wall. I'm saying my thing, and I'm just like, oh no, like oh no. Instead of like really being over there
Yeah.
with the person.
Yeah.
There's a difference in like when I'm speaking and I'm there with you.
Right.
And when I'm just like right here, really concerned about how much am I giving of myself.
Right. And am I being heard? And that's why another important tip is eye communication and body language.
Mhm.
So if I want to talk to you and I want to hold your attention, I'm going to look at you in the eyes, and I'm going to pause so that I'm giving you time to absorb what I just
Mhm.
said before I go on to the next
Mhm.
sentence or paragraph, essentially.
Mhm.
My body's going to be open to you.
Mhm.
I'm going to, if I want to have a conversation and you're on the couch and I'm in the kitchen, you're only going to absorb a percentage of what I'm saying, not going to absorb.
It's
You're
different.
going to absorb much more if I'm talking to you face to face.
Mhm.
Now keep this in mind though. There's also personal space that you do not want to invade. So if I'm coming and what depends on the subject matter to you. If I'm going to talk to you about something that is very personal, and if I'm too close to you or I'm looking at you too right in the eyes for too long and hold that look, you're going to turn inward because you're just uncomfortable. It's
Yeah.
like and that's why sometimes if there's something that's a very sensitive subject matter, you may not hold that eye contact because you don't want to embarrass them. You may kind of look down. I know a lot of times if somebody's telling me something and I can see that they start to become emotional,
Mhm.
I don't look at them straight in the eyes. I give them grace, essentially, by just kind of looking down so that they're not embarrassed. I want them to continue opening up. So I just look down. I let them know I'm listening by a glance, but I look down, you know.
Interesting.
Yeah, so being aware of those little tips and skills will help strengthen your communication skill as well.
I'm thinking about what do I do, because this thing about personal space is really related. I relate to the ability that we have to connect with that person, to create trust and rapport. So the personal space is only personal if I'm like protecting something. If I'm open, I mean, if you are okay, let me take it back. If you are someone who I'm in at peace, I am like I'm opening up for you, then my personal space is a little bit larger for you. Instead of someone who I just met on the street and I'm talking about, or someone that I haven't met. I think that also there's to be responsible for is like, who are we talking to? Who is this person for me? Is this like, you know?
Well, that goes back to tailoring. There's a talk show host. I'm not going to say names. There's a talk show host, and she has a certain personality, and she's very personable and endearing. But something that she's starting to do, and she's being called out for, is that she gets her guests on a couch, and they sit up with their legs crossed, and she moves all the way into them and puts her hand on them, on their shoulder, on their leg. And you can see many of her guests back up. She's invaded their personal space. And this is on, being recorded, live television. And so, but you can literally read the body language. And unfortunately, the host is not reading the body language. She needs to tailor to each individual, not just like, this is who I am.
Here's the thing I heard before from someone who is a talk show host for many, many years. She's actually a Brazilian one. She actually said to another person who is younger, starting in the talk show business, whatever, she said, I actually put people in a discomfortable chair, the uncomfortable chair. I put my guests on an uncomfortable chair because I want them to be in the edge when I'm asking those questions. So maybe they're doing on purpose.
Not in this. Many of you, I know that you know who I'm talking about, and I'm
curious. I don't watch that much TV.
I'll tell you off air. Out of respect, I don't want to say it. But that's
it
not
works
this
for
situation.
her, right?
Yeah. This is a host who's wanting to present herself in such a light, in such a way, to where she's just like so nurturing.
Okay, let's get back a little bit there. Finish your thought, and I wanna bring something back.
Okay. So another thing too is
no. I wanna complete about something there, because she might not be aware, and that goes into tailoring, but also in awareness. Like, if you're really interested in effective communication, she's not really interested in how she's received, right? Remember,
that's her PR. That's the responsibility of her handlers, of her PR crew.
Because like I am someone, I do not like someone talking to me, touch me.
Interesting, because sometimes I do touch you.
Yeah, but I grow and I mature, and I don't make a big deal about it anymore.
Okay.
But in the past, I would be someone like really like, I have a girlfriend that she's really touching, and I don't like touching and I used to be really like tense and everything. Now I don't bring that, but I don't like it. But I guess like with all the years of experience and being with people as a therapist, that's not a problem for me. But if I was the opposite, I am cautious about that. I love hugging people, and I have clients who I can see their body language, their energy, and I'm like uncertain. I said, I'm Brazilian, I hug. You want to hug? Like, I ask them. Some people, they're just open, and I go like that, they just come and hug, right? Like, I think it's
that is so interesting that I'm a Brazilian person, I like to hug, but yet you don't like somebody to take the initiative and touch you.
But it's different. Touching is different than hugging. You're not hugging me. You come to hug me, but it's different.
Does it matter that I'm the one initiating the touch versus you're the one that initiates the hug?
No, if you
Interesting.
initiate a hug for me,
Yeah.
oh, I love hugging.
Okay. Well, I don't want to get off topic, but that's interesting. That's very interesting.
I have some other thoughts. I think it's because of I don't like my arms because I always grow up with the fat arms, and I don't
Okay.
like that's a remind. I think that's like
Okay.
if I go deeper.
Yeah.
But the point that I want to make is that to dance with the person, and sometimes it's like maybe like for example, it's not my thing you touch me, but because we're dancing here and we're creating this synergy here, it's not as a big deal if someone on the street talking to me and touch me. I would be like stepping out, you know.
Okay. Use the appropriate communication, and what this essentially means is that sometimes an email or a letter would be more appropriate for the conversation topic than in person. Because
I disagree with that. But.
Well, listen, because sometimes people will respond emotionally, which ignites emotional response
I
from
can
you,
see that.
and it can get, and then people end up saying things that they regret. Sometimes for personal or really sensitive subjects, you want to extend an opportunity for the person to absorb what it is you're trying to say, and then think about it before they respond.
Are you saying this more like in a professional way?
No, it could be if two individuals had a difference,
Like
had differences in their relationship.
Family relationship.
It could be family, and sometimes we need to have a conversation in person versus sending a letter. It also allows you to say what it is that you want to say or to get off
like
your
a prep,
chest.
like an intention,
right? Without.
So you prepare the person.
Well, you could look at it that way, or it could be simply like may not warrant a response. It may be, you really hurt me and I need to clear this up. I need to speak my truth and I need to say what I need to say, and you don't have to respond. I don't need a response from you. So that's, is part of a healing process. So again, it's just knowing for the situation, what is the most appropriate way to communicate what it is that you need to say. And then also prepare in advance for important or sensitive topics. That means kind of rehearse it essentially, because when they're sensitive, you want to make sure that you're able to get it across your point without breaking down. I am notorious for that. I am so sensitive that when I have something I need to talk to about, and it comes from a place of pain, I choke. I really choke up sometimes, and I lose the effectiveness of what I'm trying to say. I know that, but I have to work on it.
It's so interesting you said that, because recently I know someone who's having like a problem in his throat, and a few months ago I never have problem in my throat, and a few months ago there was a situation where I was talking to my mom and I said, Mom, I woke up with like this, and she said, what is that you want to say that you didn't say?
It's called the throat chakra. It's out of balance.
And then I was like, that was like this conversation, this happened, and I did not say, like, it's right there.
Yeah.
And then she's like, okay, then speak up. As soon as I spoke up, and like the whole thing cleared.
Yeah. And then the don'ts in communication. These are the don'ts. Well, don't use the word bitch. Do not curse or use foul language, because that, if people,
it triggered people.
Well, no, it's not even that. What it represents is that your lack of ability to articulate your thoughts.
Okay, so how do you call what is another name for bitch?
I don't know. I forgot how you in what context you used it in. I'm just kidding about that. But seriously, if you want to be heard and you want to be effective, you don't swear.
I agree with that. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm making fun of it. And sometimes I think the use of language is so powerful. Sometimes you want to impact the listening, and you're not successful a lot of times. So,
No.
But the words like that creates an impact.
Yeah, and also do not yell. And try and match the tone, the voice. Make the tone and the volume of your voice to match the subject matter. You know.
I think it's also you can't really achieve that if you're not really create consciousness about the whole framework that we talk about in another episode. Like, am I speaking from upset? Am I speaking from creating peace? Am I like where I'm coming from to speak?
Right.
You mentioned something about like in communication that you want to communicate to people when you get hurt. I want to say something for you to reflect and people to reflect. You can stay in there that someone said and it hurt your feelings or you got hurt. But if I give you a gift, the only way that gift can impact you is if you take it.
What do you mean give me a gift?
Like if I give you communication, the only way that my communication is going to hurt you is that you take that communication. If you don't take that communication, it's just a communication. If you don't put anything, there's no one who will ever hurt you. That's my point.
Okay. So
you want to go back and to get what I'm saying?
Did you guys get this? Write in the comments if you guys understood what she said.
Oh, I would love to hear, to hear if you really get it, because
if you don't get the it reminds me of our vice president.
but it's okay. I repeat it again. Here's
You're
my
only
intention.
a person when you become a people of the people.
Well, I'm intent. Like every time I put myself.
You need to edit this video for that comment.
No, it's fine. No, like seriously, like the only time, every time, not only time, every time I catch myself saying like, oh, you did this to me. You make me hurt. Like you hurt my feelings, or you make me feel frustrated, and then I'm thinking like they did what they did. I was the one who took it as a hurt. And then in that moment, when I turn around, like if I like the power of language, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I shift the language to, you said what you said, and I got my feelings hurt. I got my feelings hurt because what you said. Now I have the power to change the way I felt about the thoughts.
Okay, so
the language.
So what you're referencing is to negative, like an emotional response because it's negative. It's not always the case. It could be something that's really deep to your heart where you get and crying. And don't get me wrong, guys, crying. It's okay to cry. It's okay to get emotional. It's cleansing. It's the body releasing. But it's not always a negative response. It's because it's something like, I have to break up with you. And it's hard, or we have to end our partnership, or I have to fire you, or essentially, let you go.
But let's stay with that example. If you come to me and say like, I'm working with you, and you say like, I have to fire you, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I have it like, you fire me, oh, you hurt my feelings, well, that's one way of dealing with the situation and the communication. And then I have like a whole word of how I'm going to relate to you hurt my feelings, you fire me. Or I can say, you firing me, or you stopping our relationship as an employee and employer, and I have a say that how I'm going to feel about it. You didn't hurt my feelings anymore. I got my feelings hurt because I had expectations. Now, if I had expectations, if I had my feelings hurt, I can be the one to change that, to transform that.
So you're going more into a previous episode of the framework, but it's again
it's how in the communication, right?
Yeah, but it's so. I mean, as far as how you communicate to. Okay, yeah. Let's talk about some other tips for communication and how to be an effective communicator.
Well,
because in that scenario that we just presented right now, so your perspective is the receiver of some damaging news or something. Yes, it's all how you transcribe what is being said to you, and you're gonna try and find the positive to where you. So,
well, here's how I
personal.
think it belongs here. Okay, depending how I take. If I take it, I have two. Let's say for sake of this timing, I have two ways of taking. You hurt my feelings. You are the one who act into my feelings. I got my feeling hurts. I am the one who act on my feelings. Where do I have power? And where do I respond in communication back with power? When I relate to I am responsible how the feelings got here.
Mm-hmm.
I have more power in communicating back with you.
How are you going to communicate? So, Liliani, I'm sorry to say I have to let you go.
Okay, I got it. You're letting me go. And I would say like you're letting me go and I feel sad because I had expectations. I am the one responsible about my feelings.
Okay. Well, so I would.
It's not
so
as easy.
You ask me. Now you
Uh-huh.
say the same to me, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to communicate back with you. Effective. What I
What did
consider
you say?
effective.
You fire me, right?
Yeah. So.
Well, how I would say.
No, just
Okay,
fire me.
Christina, unfortunately, I need to let you go.
Liliani, I'm sorry to hear that. May I know for future reference what it is that I did wrong or what you're not happy with in my
It's
performance?
so cute that you like lower your voice in such like a nice voice.
Well, because that's applying one of my skills of taking. I don't want to ignite. I want to bring this down to a more personal level because I want to learn from this experience and use it in my next job. So that's how I would have communicated instead of okay.
But it's very good the way you say like you going into that like okay teach me like what is but see you got power instead of you turning like oh you screwed up my life because you fired me.
Well, I don't think any. I hope don't ever respond that way.
Oh, I'm sorry, but I know people who like
you
they
probably
lost.
have people.
Oh, I host. Okay, I'm not gonna say because then it would. But I know a person who was complaining about a job, and it was a man, and he was complaining about. He was giving all the reasons why he cannot develop himself into his company.
Yeah.
And I never heard one thing about him saying about what he is not providing, what he was being responsible about not having that happen.
Yeah.
The way you communicate back to me, you got interested in finding out like why this is happening.
Yeah. And for all I know, you may appreciate the fact that I want to better myself. You may give me a second chance after I responded that way. Who knows?
Yeah, well, I don't know why it had me to fire you. You know, like it could be that the company is moving in a different direction. It could be that I don't have that position anymore. It could be the AI came in and took your job.
And I think, so anyways, we don't need to dwell too much in that. But there's so many things that we can use that as a lesson.
Yeah, I think the point that I want to make is that shift with I got power here. How can I communicate with me having power? This is happening. Circumstances, people, you're going to have disappointments. You're going to have, things that you have expectations that is going to be unfulfilled. How do you interact and communicate in a way that tell me what is happening, what happened, what can I do better for the however I can communicate in a way that I'm responsible, I'm not in the impact of what was said.
Well, understanding going back to the main 3 elements of a good communicator is what is your objective? Is it to maintain your power or is it to empower others? Do you want them to leave learning something from you or changing the way they go about doing something? So know your audience, what is your objective, and how to best communicate to where they're going and articulate what your thoughts are to where it's going to have an impact on the person you're communicating with.
Like the third one is like being responsible, how is landing over there, right? Like how your communication is over there.
That's the whole purpose behind communicating.
Well, but you can't really be responsible how it's landing over there if you're reactive when you receive a communication.
Well, then you're the listener. You just change the roles.
Yeah.
Okay, so talk about. So did you already talk about wow.
Yeah, I danced with you.
Wow. So we did pretty good. We stayed in our time frame.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's one thing that is in my notes that I want to bring it up before we close.
Yeah.
If you can bring it up a little bit so I can read. Generous listening. generous in the sense of generating. So when when you have a filter with people and you listen to that person, for example, if I interact with my son as lazy, I'm gonna find all the evidences why he's lazy. If I'm interacting with my son with the generosity of my listening, and I created that my son is a very good uh, man, like he's a man, not a boy anymore, that he's responsible, he's going after his dream, he does a lot of sports, so he's tired, and he doesn't have the structure in the work that I do the way he does. So I have a generosity listening that he's responsible, he's a hard worker, he's a good boy for his age, the way I'm going to interact with him is a totally different way from different if I go, oh, you're lazy or you are responsible.
Yeah.
So I would say that we're talking about listening. Bring some generosity in, like generous, like not generous as kind, but generous as creating in your listening.
Yeah. And also to piggyback off that, the always focus on what your goal is, what you want to achieve, and then even if you have a predetermined, like you already know what the outcome is going to be, like for instance,
Create an intention. Like create an intention in that communication. What is that?
Right, that's the goal, the intention. What is your intention? What are you hoping to accomplish? And it's even the smallest. It's even the smallest form of communication. Sometimes great communication is saying absolutely nothing. It's giving your undivided attention to the person
listening.
Speaking and just listening, and then commenting at the end, and also taking breaks in the way, pauses. So you give a person an opportunity to respond. There's nothing attractive about a person who always dominates the conversation and or tramples over your words. Don't cut the other person off. Let them. Why are you laughing, Liliani? Why are you laughing?
Well, we're learning how to dance in the conversation without cutting each other's off. Yeah. So there's a. But see, this is the listening that I'm talking about it. So if you have it like I'm cutting you off, then you're gonna perceive and interact with me as cutting you off.
And I wasn't perceiving.
No. But like lately, we have been really creating our because we watch the videos and we see what we can improve, right? And you have brought it up like let's dance more into the communication and the dancing. Like we don't want to keep talking, and so I'm interrupting more with the intention of dancing, and it's different.
Yeah, no, it is different. And another thing, and this is to the men, because men do this more than women. Men, the way that men communicate is a lot different than the way that women communicate. Men, it's more get to the point, it's very black and white, and it's almost in the form of a lecture. When they have something significant that they want to convey, it becomes like a lecture, and sometimes even the hands come up and the fingers come up, and this is what I'm talking about, and this is what, sometimes moms do that to younger kids. The moment you do that, you just kind of turned off your listener. Your message will not be received, because it's not only a kind of condescending, but it becomes authoritative. And then,
well, nobody likes to be told what to do.
Right, but it's not even so much that they're telling you what to do, it's just telling you kind of in a way that's
well, my point of view is righteous and yours is wrong, so follow me. Right? That's really like, right?
What did I tell you?
Right?
So just remember that. And okay, so listen, there is a lot more to talk on, and I know that we only just touched the iceberg on this, and there'll probably be another follow-up to this. Is just the same.
But I would say this: in doubt, be quiet and listen.
Yeah,
and then listen to create.
Yeah, and I really appreciate a good listener, and then they kind of they'll tell me. I don't say no. Repeat it back to me. What did I say? I don't do that. But
but that's a different context.
No, I know.
What? Oh, now touching it.
Well, no, that was a form of communication. What I just did, that was like saying, no, I hear you. This was me saying, I hear you. What I'm saying is I will automatically.
I heard like stop talking.
Is that
Yeah,
really?
isn't so great? Like the way we listen is totally different. It's like penguin and turtle.
Yeah.
I heard like that communication, like, stop, let me talk
No,
now.
if I wanted to do that, it'd be this. It'd be this.
But this is awesome. Like really, I really appreciate this. Like we are playing
Yeah.
and it's funny, but how many times we did this unconsciously?
No, I know.
And we take it with the other person as an insult instead of like really listen for what is that this person is intending to communicate to me.
Yeah. You
will have so much. Okay, you want effective communication? Keep looking to how you listen.
Amen. Seriously. That's important. Keep rewinding that and play that again over and over again. That's important. Hey guys, we appreciate you tuning in with Empowered Podcast, and we hope that you'll subscribe if you're not already subscribed, and check us out on Instagram. And I don't know why we're saying this, because Axel is so great about putting this up all the end of the video. So thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next time.